All right, and we are live, I believe. Just double checking that I can see that. Okay, so we're now streaming live to Facebook. Hello, everybody, and welcome to April's Facebook Live with Craig Minter from Mint CD Consulting. We have spoken before, but had tech issues in the past. So now we get to do it properly this time, and I think why not have this conversation now, considering the current climate and what we're facing. So welcome, Craig. Tell us a little bit more about you and what you do.
Yeah, great to be on the call. As you said, technical issues did change what we did last time a little bit, but it's good to be on the call. And yeah, basically me, I'm obviously a certified Profit First professional, but also a CPA accountant with a background in senior finance manager roles and those sorts of things in sort of large organisations, and I've been running my business Mint CD Consulting for the last, I lose track of time, 5 odd years or so, and about 3 years of that has been within the Profit First framework as well, being a member for a number of years in basically helping businesses implement Profit First within their businesses.
It has been a while, hasn't it? It's I think you were one of the single-digit members from Australia at the time, so it has been a while. Tell us, why did you choose to become a Profit First professional?
Yeah, I guess from myself, is I always like to educate and learn new things, and I'm forever reading books and the like. And my whole journey started with Mike's first book of the Toilet Paper Entrepreneur. I'd heard about it on a podcast, and I sort of went, oh, that sounds right up my alley. Something a bit offbeat, sounds interesting, and listened to it, the audio version, and went, yeah, this is great. Love that sort of stuff. And I was in early stages of business myself. Obviously had a lot of big business experience, but I was like, yeah, this is really cool. So then naturally just started to read through each of the books that Mike had sort of written at that stage, and came across Profit First. He'd sort of been through, I think, the Pumpkin Plan, and then I was like, what next? And I was like, Profit First, and read the description about it, and sort of went, finances, I'm an accountant, I kind of know a few things in that space. Do I really worry about reading this book? And then I did. I read the book, and, within the first couple of chapters, it just resonated with what I had been experiencing with the clients I was working with at the time, and for that matter, even my own finances in my own business at the time. And I basically started implementing right off the bat, off the book, and yeah, then obviously just reading it through and seeing how this helped the clients that I was working with, started to get that thought process. And also the book talks about, working with your Profit First professional. I could definitely help some people out in this space, because I ramped up my implementation pretty quickly and felt comfortable with it all, but again, wanted to learn more, wanted to learn all the nuances and the finer detail that obviously there's only so much that goes into a book.
Absolutely.
Wanted to really learn that from myself to see how I could implement it and optimize it with my own business, but then also help clients do the same. And from those sort of humble early beginnings, everything's evolved, and my whole business model has sort of changed as a result of delving deep into the Profit First world, and even some of the wider material that comes off the back of Profit First.
Absolutely. You've definitely come a long way in what you do with your clients and where your own business is and where you're concentrating your efforts. So what are you currently doing with your clients when it comes to Profit First?
Yeah, so that evolution is seen a myriad of different ways that we've sort of rolled out Profit First and what surrounds it with clients. But through that sort of trial and error experience, feedback, and all those sorts of things, I'm basically working with clients in what I call now helping them build and implement $1 million profit plans. And where that sort of comes from is, this belief of, a lot of people hear and talk about business plans and marketing plans and all these wonderful sort of things, which, are still good, but what they don't actually cover off is that profitability side of business, and really putting that at the forefront, because I guess a lot of those sort of the business plan, marketing plan are really revenue centric, revenue driven, which is great, and people need to drive revenue. But the reality is we all know as business owners that it's very easy to grow revenue and have the expenses growing at the same rate, which means, do we actually end up better off as a result? And so I've sort of basically gone that path of helping people build profit plans, which is really focusing on, as the business is growing, so too is the amount of money that we're able to distribute to ourselves in profit, pay down debt, put more money into our pockets as owners, and do everything that obviously Profit First talks about. And obviously that profit plan that I talk about, the underpinning tool that sort of helps bring that to life and gives you the whole plan of belief is the Profit First methodology and those sorts of things. And so at the moment, that's the one core sort of offering that I have, and it's kind of like a 6-month program. But as you continue to learn and evolve from fellow Profit First professionals and the like, that we do some awesome bouncing of ideas and stuff behind the scenes and continue to learn from that space. There was a call we had recently that made me go, oh yeah, that's a cool way that I can open up potential offerings to people who aren't in a space or commitment level to be able to engage in that program. There's some exciting new pilots in the wings that I'm going to be putting out very shortly around different ways of working as well.
Awesome. And so obviously we know as Profit First professionals that Profit First does its thing during the general, I guess, day-to-day running of business, and gaining that clarity and being in control of the cash, which is the blood of the business. Does it change anything now that we're facing this COVID-19 and that people are going out of business and that sort of thing? What's been your experience there?
Yeah, it's a very fascinating one. That obviously the world has understandably gone on to high alert for the obvious reasons. But funnily enough, with the way that I've been working with clients, it hasn't necessarily changed a huge amount, but it has brought a renewed focus and attention to the key areas and driving the messages that we've always been talking about anyway. But it just brings them into a more focus, and we are working more intensely on certain aspects of the Profit First rollout and optimizing and all those sorts of things. But the very core part of hitting in these amazingly challenging times that as business owners we're all experiencing to varying degrees and varying levels is that, and it's part of the message that I always tell with anybody that starts working with me, it's that whole, to begin with, let's just stay calm. Let's not make panic decisions, rash decisions on anything. Let's get a good understanding, good clarity around the cash of your business, as you touched upon before there, Laura. It's the underpinning that cash is the lifeblood of the business, and let's get a core understanding of that, what's happening in that space, and do our most to protect that, to then be able to go, oh, cool. Now we can make sort of really educated decisions and forward planning and thinking based on knowing those numbers in a bit of a simpler and more straightforward, streamlined manner. So yeah, that's kind of what I've been saying to my own clients, but also the general experiencing and talking to people that have all these cash flow problems, and people are starting to become more unconscious and more curious about what I do now, in fairness, because they're like, hang on a second, you've been talking about this, and it's like, yeah, it's times like these that is kind of methodology and thinking, and it's in the methodology, it's the mindset that is behind it, really comes to the fore.
Absolutely. And I think during the times that we're facing, mindset is key, because there definitely is that shock, must make decisions panic mode that businesses go into, which Profit First kind of bypasses that, because it very much highlights the different bank accounts, which as business owners we're looking at. What decisions can I make today based on what my bank account is showing? And one of the things that the conversations that we had yesterday with the Profit First professionals was, the different scenarios that you're working on with clients who are facing really significant difficulties in terms of revenue dropping, or having to potentially look at what does it mean if staff are reduced or go, and that sort of stuff. When does that happen, and what does that look like, and what does my bank account look like? And I think that's the key to what it is that you do that's very different to other Profit First professionals, because in good times, you do the same thing, and in bad times, you're doing the same thing. What have the outcomes been for your clients?
Yeah, it has been an interesting experience. And again, I'm not doing a huge amount differently, as you touched upon there, Laura. But what it has actually been is we're probably just doing it a little bit more often, because obviously, as we're all aware of the constantly changing scenarios that are unfolding in the global space, and obviously all the different stimulus packages that have rolled out, the different implications that they have down to individual client and individual business owners' needs and the like. And so what we've experienced by, I use a cash flow tool that is very centric around the whole profit first methodology, and concentrating on what those different bank accounts actually look like at any given point in the future, based upon, business as usual versus scenario A, B, C, D, and in the current climate down to Z pretty much, because there are so many scenarios that can happen. But we can actually sit there and put on in a fairly quick way of sort of going, well, okay, based upon impacts on revenue, what's that impact if it reduces by 50%, 25%, 75%, whatever it is that it might be looking like. Let's plug that in and get a picture of how does that impact. If that happens, well, how does that flow through with the allocations that we're actually doing to the different bank accounts, and what does that mean for how much money I've got left in my OPEX account to be able to manage the business on? How does it also impact them personally as far as paying down debt, paying their own owner's pay, and making sure that they're not the first one that drops off the radar for getting paid, and making sure that they're still covered, because again, we all need to be able to survive and pay the groceries at the end of the day. And so what my clients, I think, have experienced, and the feedback I've been getting is, people, I've had people in tears on calls that, finances are a very emotional part, and we've got a big attachment to our businesses, is that, talking through that, and then just giving people that sense of comfort that we go, okay, yes, it is challenging, and it's not easy, and it's not expected to be easy, but here's the picture of what it could look like on the different areas, and here's your runway to be able to make decisions. And it's not something we need to do right now, as in on this call, which is often when people get on the call, they're like, I need to make a decision now, and I need to do this, that, and the other. But we can point some scenarios and say, hey, look at this scenario. And this is where we're kind of looking at the moment, the most likely one. Well, you've got a bit of space and breathing space to make those decisions, have those conversations, have the negotiations, work out what you do staffing, and all those sorts of things. And then they've got that sense of relief, and you get the message the day after going, I just feel a bit more calm. And then straight away they're starting to able to make better decisions, because they're not making them from fear or panic. They're making it from, cool, I can see some scenarios, and if it drops that far, yeah, that's really not pretty, but I can still see how I can create a plan, which is this whole process of where I come from. It's all about creating that plan, and that can be from plan on, your accounts receivable to your accounts payable to how you're going to manage the expenses and those sorts of things as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that a lot of people are still in that shock desperation stage of going, what do I do? I need to make a decision now, and I need to make like the most extreme decisions, because worst case scenario. Whereas what you are doing as a profit first professional is going, okay, let's do that evaluation. Let's move into the next stage, which is knowing from the data that's actually happening, the cash that's coming in and out of your bank accounts, what time you have, and where you actually need to make the decisions first, which kind of makes a person go, oh great, I don't have to put everything on hold and cut everything all at once, and that sort of thing. So that's amazing.
Yeah, and that's been probably that classic example of, obviously, with all these stimulus packages that are coming through, the reality is, great in picture up here, but no one actually knows how it's actually going to, every single part of those stimulus packages are going to actually impact them. When the cash will flow, is it cash or is it a deferral or credit, and all these sorts of things. And what we're finding is that, people want to make that rash decision to stand down staff or go total, as you suggested there, total extreme. Whereas there you go, well, if we can get through the next month to 2 months, combination of what they've already done up to now, where they've got a bit of money holding because of all the work they've done with Profit First in the first place. But then we can get to there, and then we can, you can continue to revisit to go, once you've got that clearer picture around stimulus packages and things like that, and then you can really go, oh, now I can get my platform for that future.
Fantastic. And can you tell me about your own implementation of Profit First and what you're currently doing with Profit First in your own business?
Yeah, so Profit First in my own business is, again, it's had a very myriad of different iterations since I very first started my implementation. And from day one, I got straight in, and a very small business at the time, and jumped in, working the percentages, and sort of went to the fairly higher end of those percentages, and learned a lesson there as well. And yes, it's took a step back myself in saying, well, hey, the incremental approach, which I now encourage obviously everybody to do, and having gone through that little experience where I then had to rejig, change, pare things back a little bit to make everything a bit more sustainable with Profit First, and then also going through a whole, I guess, model change where I could have transitioned from sort of some general consulting sort of space, efficiency, productivity, and those sorts of things, to now being more focused on the profit plans and those sorts of things. Is that I did lose a number of clients during that space who weren't willing to come on board with a Profit First ideology, to their own detriment, in my view. But ultimately, during that time, obviously revenue dipped and had my own challenges and those sorts of things. And now Profit First is very much in that phase of building back up in a nice, sustainable and organic way, that there's a whole lot of growth potential in how I'm operating with that. And even in the current environment, taking a step back from there, is the whole way I'm looking at my finances tied in with my personal finances, of the understanding, well, I don't have accounts receivable issues, because the way I've changed my modeling is to make sure I'm paid upfront with those sorts of things, but ensuring that cash is coming, making sure I'm adding extra more and more value for my clients, so that I stay relevant in the current economy and climate. And then obviously on the expense side of things, I'm sitting there going, well, categorizing, and this is what I'm encouraging all my clients to do as well, is categorizing all expenses and going through that line by line and going, well, is it an essential cost that basically is the lifeblood of my business? Is there a negotiation or deferral opportunity? So with some of the loans or financing options, in the current, is there a deferral option that should seem fit, which may be a viable option for me to keep more cash in the business to help it in any challenging times, or negotiate with suppliers and the like to say, in this environment, can we get a discount? Can we do this? Can we do that? What's your plan around any of these sorts of things? And then the other option is the final category, is that take the realization, do I really need this anymore at all, or do I need it at all in this environment? And so there's a two-pronged thing of going, well, actually, I don't need that anymore. I'm not actually using it for the amount of money I'm paying for it. It's not providing value. And sort of doing that whole cost-cutting exercise. And it's been, again, it's stuff that you normally do in my own business as well as with clients as well, but it has brought a refreshed energy to it, to go, it's more important than ever because of the current climate. And that's basically in a continual cycle of that, as I continue to challenge my own percentages, as I reduce the operating expenses that I run the business on in relative terms to the revenue that's coming in, that I continue to do that myself to this day, because ultimately, we want to keep on streamlining and optimizing my business as well as my clients.
Absolutely. And everything that you've just said there were so many tips. So if anyone's watching this or watching the replay, go back, listen to that part again, because there's absolute gold in there. And that was actually going to be my next question. What's the number one tip for, business owners that are considering implementing Profit First right now?
Yeah, the number one tip, and again, I feel like I'm repeating myself a bit, but it's not too different now to what it normally is in a Profit First world, in my view. And it is ultimately that cash is king. It is the lifeblood of your business, as you touched upon earlier, and more so now than ever. It is really protect that. The reality is that if you do have a large amount of accounts receivable sitting on your books right now, there is a big question mark on how much that is actually going to be able to be collected. And so therefore, you really need to protect what you've got, do your best to collect what you can, but also be conscious that yourself, you might be potentially trying to negotiate with other people, and so be open to that negotiation process as well, because I guess cash is king, but also the thing that's not far behind that is the ability to be empathetic in the current climate that we're actually working in. And now more than ever, what I've been excited to see is that willingness for people to open up and go, hey, I am struggling. Here's a challenge I've got, and sharing that, because everybody knows and understands that. And I think everybody wants everybody to get through this as best we can. And so cash is king, do your best to do that, but also be empathetic and create your plans around how best can you help other people, as well as them being able to help you, and making this awesome two-way street, so that off the back of all this, you know, I've got a massive strong belief that the world's going to go crazy as we come out of this, and businesses that set up the great foundations and platforms that have looked after their cash right now, and those relationships around that with their customers, their suppliers, and all those sorts of things, come the back end, a couple of months, as he starts to build back up, then they're going to flourish, and yeah, the world will be their oyster.
And that's exactly it. Thank you so much for sharing that, because empathy is key to any sort of business interaction as well. So thank you. And I guess the last question I have for you is, for those accountants, bookkeepers, or coaches that are considering becoming a Profit First professional, what have you got to say to them?
Yeah, jump on board. The more the merrier is where I come from. And yeah, that's to say, obviously had a pretty long experience. I signed up in the days when I was doing midnight calls to the US and the like, with the group in the US who have been so supportive from that day. And then also Profit First Australia and yourself, Laura, since that's come on board, the brand and the systems and the support that you get as a part of that is second to none. And I know personally my business has evolved and changed as a result of being a part of the community and getting my own mentoring and guidance and the like, both again in my own business, being able to optimize my own Profit First rollout, everything around my business, and being able to do that has been paramount to where my business is going and what I see out of that. And yeah, I've got a strong belief that, you know, having been around seeing the momentum that the brand as a whole is getting in the book, and more and more I do a lot of networking, and you know, there's a lot more knowledge and understanding around it, and there's people that are out there implementing, and there's so many people out there that want help and can do with help. And also there's the potential to go from, you know, being some of the standard accountants, that historical stuff of going, well, this new world of that world's changing, and being able to evolve with one of the cutting edge methodologies and communities to leverage off this world is going to be, I think pretty phenomenal in the years ahead. So and the more people along, the more ideas that we can bounce around, the better that we can make that for our clients as well, and the better you can serve your clients. So yeah, all about value add to your clients, and I think there's not much more value you can add by joining the community.
There's definitely a whole heap of businesses that need help, that's for sure, and we need more people on board to help with that. So you're doing an awesome job of that. And for anyone that's either watching us live or coming back to the replay, how can I get in contact with you?
Yeah, basically probably one of the best ways is via my socials and website. And so my website basically is just mincedconsulting.com.au. Also across the socials, trying to share plenty of Profit First and profitability tips and ideas through the social channels on Facebook. There's the Mint CV Consulting Facebook page. I've also got a private group where we add a little bit of extra value in there called the Profit Project, which you can find all those links from the website as a starting point. Is probably the best call there.
Brilliant. We'll also pop some of these links down in the comments as well, so that people can easily find you. Thank you so much, Craig, for taking the time today to answer all my questions and to be here.
Anytime. You know, I love to talk Profit First in general, and the more awareness and education we get out there, the better for business owners to get through challenging times like we're all experiencing now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And this will be sent out as well as a recording to people. So we'll catch you on the next Facebook Live. Thank you.